Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has defined the office of CAG as one of the most important offices under the government of India, and the office of CAG has also been referred to as the watchdog of the public purse in India. And these statements actually defines the importance of the office of CAG, which stands for the Comptroller and Auditor General in India. And many a times we have seen that the demands with regard to the independence of the office of CAG always raises. And in today's episode, we will be looking into this aspect. Hello and welcome to the in-depth series section of Drishti IAS. I'm Aisha, and in today's episode, we will be talking about the office of Comptroller and Auditor General. So first of all, about the points of discussion, first we will be looking at the news, then what are the constitutional provisions with regard to the office of CAG, how the CAG is appointed, what are its duties and power, what is the role performed by CAG, and in the end a prelims MCQ. Topic is of relevance from General Studies paper 2, that is polity. So the question is, Supreme Court to examine plea to trim centre's absolute control over CAG appointment. Now what happens is that CAG is a constitutional post, and the appointment of CAG, the control for the appointment of CAG is in the hands of the centre. And there is a PIL which has recently been filed, and this PIL talks about that the absolute control of the centre with regard to the appointment of the CAG must be lessened. The centre must become less powerful. So the absolute power of the centre must be reduced. Before moving forward, Drishti IAS Mukherjee Nagar classes has now been shifted to Noida, and the admissions are open for the IAS-GS Foundation course covering both prelims and mains in an offline manner. So the batch, English medium batch is starting from 8th of April, while the Hindi medium batch is starting from 26th of March. In case of any query, give us a call at 87501, or you can also download the Drishti Learning app. So what has happened is that Supreme Court recently has decided to examine a plea challenging the sole prerogative of the centre acting through the president to appoint the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. So CAG is an office in India who is appointed by the President of India, and the PIL which has been filed, it talks about that in the name of the President of India, it is the centre who decides or who has the absolute power to decide that who will be appointed as the CAG of India. So the PIL talks about that this prerogative of centre or this absolute power of centre must be reduced. So the petitioner talks about that recently there has been deviations which has been observed in the work of the CAG, and these are including reports on the pause in Maharashtra audits, a steady decline on audits on the union government, the shelving of the performance audit on debt sustainability, allegations of corruption in recruitment to several vacancies in the CAG. And the problem is that these deviation reflects a grave impact on the independence of a constitutional authority. So our office, which is a constitutional office, this dependence on centre defines that the independence of the office of CAG is under scanner. And this also talks about that the independence for the office of CAG needs to be maintained. So there should be reforms with regard to the appointment made by the centre or with regard to the appointment made to the position of the CAG. And one of the aspects which has been talked about many a times with regard to the reforms in the appointment process of the CAG is that there shall be a recruitment committee which shall be formed for the appointment of the CAG, and this committee must consist of Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha, and the Chief Justice of India. This is one of the points which has been forwarded in the PIL also. Now, what becomes important is to understand about the office of CAG, that is Comptroller and Auditor General, and this is the aspect from where there are maximum chances of the questions being asked, and previously we have seen that questions in the preliminary examination have directly come from the office of the CAG. So let us first of all talk about the constitutional provisions of the office of CAG. So Article 148 talks about, it deals with the appointment, oath and conditions of service of the CAG of India. Then comes Article 149. It specifies the duties and powers of CAG in India. Then comes Article 150. It talks about, states that the accounts of the union and states must be kept in a form which is prescribed by the president on the advice of the CAG. So it is the CAG who advises the president. Then comes Article 151. It requires the CAG's report on union accounts to be submitted to the president and laid before the parliament. Then state reports to be submitted to the governor and laid before the state legislature. Then comes Article 279. It talks about, or it provides that the CAG certifies the calculation of net proceeds and its certificate is final. Then comes the third schedule of the Indian Constitution. It talks about that Section 4 prescribes the oath or affirmation to be made by the judges of the Supreme Court and the CAG upon assuming office. Then comes the sixth schedule of the Indian Constitution, which talks about, it specifies that accounts of district or regional councils should be kept in a form prescribed by the CAG and audited accordingly. Reports are to be submitted to the governor for laying before the council. So if you will see that these are the constitutional provisions which talks about the office of the CAG in the Indian Constitution. Now coming on to the office of the CAG. So the office of the CAG is mentioned in the Constitution of India under Article 148, and CAG is regarded as the head of the Indian Audit and Accounts Department. So the Indian Audit and Accounts Department is headed by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, and CAG is responsible for safeguarding the public purse and overseeing the financial system at both the central level and at the state level. So both central and state level, the financial system has been looked after by the CAG. Then CAG upholds the constitution and parliamentary laws in financial administration, and it is considered as a bulwark of Indian Parliament, and with CAG the other bulwark of Indian Parliament considered are UPSC, Election Commission, CAG. So these are considered to be the bulwark of the Indian Parliament. Election Commission, UPSC, Supreme Court, and then there is CAG. So these four are the bulwarks of Indian Parliament. Then comes that CAG is governed by the Comptroller and Auditor General's Duties, Powers and Conditions of Service Act 1971, with significant amendment made in this act in the year 1976, 1984 and 1987. So it is not that the act has never been amended. So this is about CAG. Now let us talk about the appointment of the CAG. So CAG is appointed by the President of India by a warrant under his hand and seal. So be very particular with this, that the appointment is made by the President of India and the removal is also done by the President of India. If we talk about the term of office, then that is 6 years or until the age of 55, whichever is earlier. So if 6 years completes first, then after 6 years, or if the age of 65 completes first, then CAG takes oath to uphold the constitution and perform duties impartially without fear or favor. So whenever someone is sitting on the position of the CAG, so he or she needs to work impartially with objectivity and does not have to take sides. He or she needs to work to uphold the Constitution of India. Now how the removal process is done? So the removal of the CAG is done by the President of India, and the grounds for the removal of CAG is same as the Supreme Court judge. So whatever is the conditions for the removal of the Supreme Court judge is the same for the same conditions for the removal of the CAG, and that is it is done by a special majority in both houses of parliament, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and the condition is proven misbehavior or incapacity. Be particular with regard to the ground for the removal, that is incapacity and proven misbehavior. Then CAG can resign anytime from his office by addressing the resignation letter to the President of India. So CAG directly is appointed by the President and is also removed by the President, and the resignation is also submitted to the President of India. Now, with regards to the office of CAG and about its independence, that why the office of CAG is considered independent. So it's talk about that CAG can only be removed by the President following a constitutional procedure, not at the President's pleasure. So it is not that whenever the President wants to remove CAG, the President can do that. No, a particular constitutional procedure needs to be followed for the removal of the CAG, which is same as the judge of the Supreme Court. CAG is ineligible for any further office under the government of India or any state after leaving the office. It means that if the CAG, if someone is sitting on the position of the CAG and then someone retires or someone resigns, then the reappointment is not done, or the ineligible for any further office. It means any other office in the government of India or the state government, CAG cannot perform. Then the Parliament determines the CAG's salary, which is equal to that of a Supreme Court judge. Then President, in consultation with the CAG, prescribes the service condition for CAG's staff and administrative powers. So the staff for the office of the CAG and its administrative power is decided by the President in consultation with the Comptroller and Auditor General. Then CAG's administrative expenses, including salaries, allowances and pensions, they are charged upon the Consolidated Fund of India. So the salaries, allowances and pension for the office of the CAG and its administrative expenses, it is drawn out from the Consolidated Fund of India, and it is not subject to parliamentary vote. So Parliament will not vote on the administrative expenses for the office of the CAG. They are taken out from the Consolidated Fund of India. Then no minister can represent the CAG in Parliament or take responsibility for his actions. It is the CAG who needs to represent the office. Now about the duties and power of the office of CAG. So CAG audits the accounts related to the expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India and the state. So at the central level and at the state level, at both the levels, it is the CAG who audits the account. Then it also audits accounts of government corporations, public sector undertakings and bodies substantially funded by the government. So be it government corporations, public sector undertakings or any body which is funded by the government, the audit will be done by the CAG. Then CAG provides a certificate on the net proceeds of taxes and duties and audits which audits the transactions related to debt, advances and suspense accounts. So any kind of audit with regard to the accounts of the center or the state, it will be performed by the CAG. Then CAG submits the audit report to the President, who places them before the Parliament. So if this is CAG, it will give the report to the President and President will place it in Parliament. And same happens at the state level to the Governor. Governor will place it in the state legislature. Then reports are then examined by the Public Accounts Committee. Important point, you need to star mark this, that who scrutinizes the CAG report. So that is the Public Accounts Committee, popularly known as PAC, P-A-C. Now let us talk about the role of CAG. So that is, CAG acts as an agent of Parliament. Then it ensures that public money is spent legally and efficiently, and if any kind of waste is seen, then CAG points it out. CAG is responsible for safeguarding the taxpayers' money and ensuring that it is spent in accordance with the law and wastage has not been done. Then CAG can conduct property audits, that is, he assesses the wisdom, faithfulness and economy of government expenditure and comment on wastefulness and extravagance, because the regulatory audit and the legal audits are mandatory to be done by the CAG, but the but the property audits are discretionary. Discretionary means it is up to the CAG whether the office of the CAG wants to do it or does not want to do it, while the regulatory audit and legal audit, it is obligatory on the office to do. Then CAG in India does not have control over the issuance of funds and performs the role of Auditor General only, and this is unlike the CAG office in the Britain. It means that in Britain, the center and state governments audit and complying role and auditing role both is done by the CAG, but in India, the auditing role is performed by the CAG, but the complying role is not performed by the CAG. Till the year 1976, it was performed by the CAG, but after 1976, at the central level, the compliance role is not performed by the CAG, only the auditing role. And this is also one of the difference between the CAG of Britain and CAG of India. So, comptroller role at the central level is not performed by the CAG in India. Before 1976, it was performed by CAG. Now, in the end of prelims MCQ, and you people need to tell me the answer in the comment section. So, the question reads, which schedule of the India's constitution mentions about the oath and affirmations to be made by the CAG? So, Schedule 2, Schedule 3, Schedule 4 or Schedule 5? We have discussed this in the video. So, give me the answer in the comment section. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Till we meet next time. Keep reading, keep writing and keep subscribing to the channel. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.